and they trust. They also expect you to execute it well. The actual details and teams and legal and compliance and due diligence. And so whether you're selling a division or the company or buying a division of the company, it's still pretty much both. So if you look at who people actually go to in deals, and it changes over time, but one of the reasons we feel great about our investment bank is M&A. We've gone from, I'm talking about way before I was here, from number 10 to number 3, 2, or 1. But one of the things that tells you is you're becoming closer and closer to those companies. You've got the capabilities and the relationship, but the relationship itself is critical. And you'll see with the M&A, much more than other businesses, if the M&A bank goes to another bank, the business will sometimes follow. Whereas, financing business, it rarely follows.
Maybe I can ask a follow-up on that question, because I mean, M&A's acquisitions are an intriguing thing, right? And we know they have bad press. How many people in this room know that what happens to an acquirer's stock price when it buys? Typically go up or go down? It always goes down, right?
Ours went up.
Yeah. So if that's true, how many acquisitions take place every year around the world? 5,000, 3,000, smaller number going down over time because we're learning that it's a bad thing to buy and it's only in those rare cases you make money?
That's good.
Try maybe 30,000, 35,000? Number going up? Does that mean I'm doing a really bad job as a teacher? And the moment you leave here, you should, the first time you go to work, where you work for Jamie, telling him he's doing a bad job by buying firms and it'll make even more value for his firm by not buying firms. That sound like the right advice for you to get?
So I was commenting on M&A deals, and when you look at companies, I think you should never say they work or they don't work,
right,
or deals work or don't work. The fact is, some people do them and they work fine, and some people do them and they're terrible. And that's true with just basic businesses. Walmart does exactly the same thing as Kmart. Exactly. One worked, one didn't. It wasn't the business. It was, Walmart did everything a little bit better. Vendor, purchasing, supplies, location, product, vendor, distribution plans. Everything a little bit better gave them this extra moat, this extra margin. Deals too. Now, there are 3 things in deals that are really critical. Okay, one is price, and they're all set. You kind of think of it as like a separate door. And after you get through each of the doors, then you can weigh and measure across the doors. One is price. So like in a financial business, some deals you can't pay a price, 6 times book for a bank and really make it work for your shareholder. The second is business logic, business strategy, business fit. And the third is the ability to execute. And by the way, I put the last one as the most important. So, if you can execute it and the business fit is great, you could pay a higher price. If it's kind of a little bit iffy and tough to execute, and you better have a lower price to give you a little bit of a margin for error. But the ability to execute is what people fail on. And it goes back to the same thing, that people often do a deal, and they know what they should do, but the second the deal gets done, the company gets bogged down in politics, bureaucracy, lack of decision-making. They don't form a management team. So if you read the press, one of the first things you should look at when people do a deal is not that they're out there saying, we get along great, this is great, we're hugging. Did they announce the senior management team? So like at J.P. Morgan Chase, the senior management team was announced at the same time we announced the deal. We had already done the hard work. So the top 30 people were already announced. A lot of deals they're not, and now the deal is signed, and it gets bogged down, and you started making a lot of decisions that don't make sense, and like people don't convert systems, people don't do the hard work. They say they're going to cut overhead staff, which they should, by the way, not because they're cost cutting, and they don't because they get to phrase going to rock the company, and they fail to deliver on what they said they were going to deliver.
And then the follow-up.
But the other thing about it, it's got to work for the client. Just remember in these deals, it's not just for size. You have to be able to, eventually you have to be able to do something better, faster, quicker, cheaper for the client. If you can't do that, there's no sense for the deal. But that's what Walmart does. That's what, and don't just look at banks, pharmaceuticals, semiconductor, aircraft engines, and the size and scale and scope and economies of scale and the economies of software and engineering and brand and national advertising and sales forces, it ends up with a better product or a cheaper price for a client. And so, I say if we don't do it, somebody else will. And I think banks are delivering more to clients for less.
Yeah, absolutely right. And then the follow-up to that is I want to think about in J.P. Morgan's role as an advisor rather than as an acquirer. What how you carry out working with the clients you're advising for their acquisitions to go through all three of those doors, not just to stop at the price, but to work through looking for the value proposition and actually execute and carry it out.
So a great investment banker is someone that you actually trust their judgment.
Right.
And they aren't just rah, let's get the deal done and get paid a fee. They are, hey, they will do their own homework. They will have their own evaluation. They will help you do a due diligence, and they'll raise all the hard questions. And and they'll help negotiate. But in the toughest negotiation, they may say, "Hey, at this point, if it doesn't make sense, we should walk." It's not the deal at any price. So really good advisors, because you know what? They know that they want your business for your life. It's not the deal. And so some people do get carried away, and there's some investment bankers who are known for have certain phrases that. They say Bruce Washington was bid 'em up Bruce. Just get the deal done. Get the fee, go to the next deal. I'm not saying he does that, but that was the implication behind it. I think there was. And Wall Street did do that a little bit. So, if we want to build a great company, we've got to have the character to train our people to do the right thing for the client, not the right thing for JP Morgan Chase.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Question?
We understand that you worked with Sandy Wiles for a long time, and can you give us elaborate on what are the key takeaways when you learn from him, and when you select people to work with you, what are the key traits you're looking for?
Yeah, so Sandy Wiles. So, look, I worked for Sandy for 14 years. I didn't get along with him the last 5. I always thought it was going to get better. I obviously was wrong because I walked in one day and he fired me. I learned a tremendous amount from him. I also learned a tremendous amount of things I would never do. Okay, that I wouldn't treat people that way, and I wouldn't do things that way, and I wouldn't work with some of the people that had worked with him. I wouldn't work with. That was usually our biggest fights. It was over some of the people that he would put in a job or something that I just thought didn't have the character. And I do think this word character, but I do mean it. I think if you don't have a certain amount of character, you shouldn't have the job. So I say if you wouldn't want your kid working for the person, you shouldn't give the person the job. And we do allow people in these jobs. They're bullies. They're nasty. They're terrible. It's all about them. And yet they get promoted around the world. And I think you eventually destroy a company if you do something like that. So I learned a lot. I also learned some things I personally wouldn't do. What was your second part of your question? Was what?
Yeah, when you're looking for somebody to work with you, so what when you select?
Right. So I think it's just some pretty basic stuff like a real work ethic. And a work ethic does not mean you have to destroy your life because you're working 7 days a week and neglecting your family. It basically means you do your work, you do your homework, you know what's going on, you meet your commitments, and it's not the dog ate my homework, and constant excuses and stuff like that. That you are honest, and I'm going to use this. It's not just honest; is you don't shave the truth, So I don't think a lot of people they think it's okay that and you've seen people they're kind of a little unctuous all the time. You can't quite nail it down, but you don't quite believe it, and a lot of people know that about them, and I can't afford that. Just say it. Say what you believe as best you can. You got to have people who can speak up. Who will tell you what they think, whether or not you're going to like it. Because again, if you don't, you start getting more and more distorted. I think obviously people who are knowledgeable on their own, because very often, like people say, what's successful? People sometimes come to your office and they're an investment banker and they say, okay, Jamie, tell me about your company and the strategies and tell me about how we can help you. And I'm saying, what? Am I doing your job? I mean, they didn't even bother to read the annual report. They should do their own homework, study it. No facts, no information, no people. So you're looking for a broad breadth of people. We made a woman who was running investor relations. She was an investment banker. We put her in investor relations. She was made the CFO right from there, which is kind of a big step, with one person reporting to her of our commercial bank. And you know what? She got better. The bigger the job, the better she got. And you know what I realized? People trusted her. She delivered. Anyone who worked with her wanted her at the meeting because she was fun to be with. She would get right back to them. She said, I'll take care of that. And no one ever thought that she was going to be backstabbing them. And she became like this immediate kind of go-to core that, the people wanted to have as part of the team. And you realize how important those things are to. And she was obviously bright.